The line stretched down the narrow streets of Manchester like a scene from a bizarre social experiment. Men ranging from anxious 20 somethings to middle aged professionals in tailored suits queued outside a modest Airbnb. Some shuffled nervously, others shared quiet jokes, but the air was heavy with anticipation. Inside, Jade Sterling was calm but alert. Dressed in a silk robe, her makeup flawless, she paced the small living room of the rented flat. Today was her boldest endeavor yet. 100-man marathon, 2 minutes per man, meticulously planned and executed. What had started as a secret now had the attention of the world, and to Jade's equal relief and dread, her family. This was more than just an event. This was the day Jade's two lives collided. At 27, Jade had crafted an unconventional career for herself, but it was a career she hid from her parents for as long as she could. She wasn't the type to settle for an average job earning average pay, nor did she want the life of routine her peers seemed to be resigned to. Working as a retail assistant after university had nearly crushed her spirit, and when she discovered OnlyFans, it felt like freedom. Her journey into adult content began innocently enough, provocative photos paired with playful captions. But the more she leaned into it, the more she realized something unexpected. She liked it. This wasn't just about money, it was her fantasy, a way to reclaim control over her life and her body. The messages from fans, admirations, requests for advice, and even confessions fueled her sense of purpose. But for all her confidence, Jade lived in constant fear of her family finding out. Her parents, Diane and Greg, were traditionalists who took pride in their daughter's education and imagined she would someday settle in a respectable career. The thought of them discovering her secret filled Jade with dread. They would disown me, she told herself whenever the guilt bubbled up. For nearly 2 years, she kept her work hidden. Not even her closest friends knew the extent of her online persona. Then came the shift. Men began messaging her not just for pictures, but for guidance and pleas to help them understand intimacy, and also to teach them how to please their partners. Jade saw an opportunity and pivoted her work into something more hands-on, something that blurred lines between empowerment and indulgence. She rented Airbnbs across the UK, promoted her events on TikTok, and organized a clientele with military precision. Each man was required to provide proof of a recent STI test, sign a detailed consent form, and agree to the strict rules. Security guards waited outside the door, and every session was timed to exactly 2 minutes. Jade told herself she wasn't just fulfilling a fantasy, she was teaching something important. But when her parents eventually found out, the fallout was inevitable. It was Diane who discovered the truth first, through an article in an online tabloid. The headline screamed, "Manchester woman hosting 100 men sex marathon claims it's all about education." Diane's heart sank as she scrolled through the story, seeing her daughter's face next to a line of queuing men. If you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let's continue. When she confronted Jade, Greg soon followed. The kitchen table of their modest home became the stage for one of the most uncomfortable conversations of Jade's life. "How could you do this?" Diane asked, her voice trembling with equal parts anger and disappointment. Greg couldn't speak. His face was pale, his fist clenched on the table. Jade sat there, feeling like the rebellious teenager she had been since her school days. But she didn't back down. "I didn't tell you because I thought you'd disown me," she admitted. "But I'm not ashamed of what I do. Every man signs a consent form. I have a security at the door, and it's all safe and legal. I make more in a month than most people make in a year. This isn't just a job, it's my life. Her parents were gutted. Diane had always envisioned her daughter in a respectable career, maybe a lawyer or a teacher. Greg had hoped Jade would find a quiet life and settle down. Neither of them knew how to process the reality of her world. But when Jade casually mentioned her earnings, the tone shifted. "How much are we talking about?" Greg finally asked. "Enough to pay off my student loans, save for a house, and still have plenty left over," Jade said. The number softened their resistance, though it didn't erase their unease. Over the following weeks, Diane and Greg begrudgingly settled with the idea, though Greg still refused to talk about it openly. Diane, however, began to see the determination in her daughter's eyes. By the time Jade planned her infamous 100-man marathon, Diane had transformed from a shocked and disbelieving mother into her daughter's most loyal supporter and manager. What began as awkward, tense conversations over cups of tea evolved into a partnership built on trust and Diane's decision to stand by Jade, no matter how unconventional her choices seemed. The morning of the event, Diane arrived at the Airbnb with her clipboard, a detailed schedule, and a no-nonsense attitude. She had taken charge of the logistics, ensuring that every client's paperwork was in order, and the security team was briefed. Diane approached the operation with the same professionalism she had once brought to her corporate career, treating Jade's work with the respect it deserved. Jade, busy preparing inside, looked up as Diane entered the room, wearing a calm but focused expression. "You are really doing this, aren't you?" Jade said. "Of course I am," Diane replied, setting down her clipboard. "You've built something incredible, Jade, and if I can help you run it smoothly, I will. Besides," she added with a wry smile, "I've already told a few of my friends that my daughter is a businesswoman. They don't need to know the details." Jade laughed. "Mom, you are unbelievable." Diane winked. "And you are unstoppable. Now let's get to work." If you are enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let's continue. The first half of the day passed in a blur of faces and carefully managed encounters. Each man entered, presented his paperwork, and signed the consent form before stepping into the room with Jade. Most were nervous, fumbling over their words, while others were overly confident, only to falter when the time began. Jade kept her demeanor professional, guiding them with practiced ease. Then she saw him. Standing halfway down the queue, trying to look inconspicuous, was Eric, her ex-boyfriend, the same man who had called her lost when she told him about her OnlyFans page 2 years ago. The man who had ghosted her when her career began to gain traction. And now, here he was, waiting in line like everyone else. When his turn came, Eric stepped into the room, looking equal parts embarrassed and determined. "Jade, we need to talk," he said, ignoring the 2-minute timer that had just started. Jade raised an eyebrow. "Eric, you booked this slot. It's not for talking." "I can't believe you are doing this," he said, his voice urgent. "This isn't you. You're better than this." Jade crossed her arms. "You don't get to decide who I am anymore. You walked out on me when I needed support. Now, I've built something for myself, and you're trying to talk me out of it? Your time is up." The timer beeped. Jade opened the door and gestured for him to leave. "Next," she called out. Eric hesitated, but when Diane appeared in the doorway with her clipboard, he had no choice but to leave. The satisfaction Jade felt was brief. There were still dozens of clients to see, and the day was far from over. Later in the afternoon, another unexpected figure entered the room. The man wasn't nervous or awkward like the others. He carried himself with an air of confidence and curiosity. Jade immediately noticed the small recorder he slipped out of his pocket. "You are not here for this session," she said. "I'm here for the story," he replied, pressing record. "Jade Sterling, The woman hosting a 100-man sex marathon in the name of education. Do you think this is a bit extreme? If you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. Let's continue. Jade leaned back, unimpressed. Every man here signed up willingly, brought STI results, and agreed to the terms. What's extreme about consent and empowerment? You say it's about education, the journalist pressed. But isn't this just a stunt for fame? Jade glanced at the timer. Your 2 minutes are almost up. You could at least give me a real answer, he said. The timer beeped. Jade stood and opened the door. Time's up. Goodbye. The journalist huffed but left, muttering something about exploitation as he passed Diane on his way out. As the day went on, exhaustion began to creep in. The endless strings of faces and the weight of her own expectation made Jade feel like she was running on autopilot. But she pressed on, determined to finish what she had started. Near the end of the queue, one man stepped into the room with an overly confident smirk. His demeanor immediately put Jade on edge, but she remained professional. As the timer counted down, he leaned in closer than the others had dared. "You are even more beautiful in person," he whispered, brushing her cheek. When she gently pushed him back, he leaned in again and tried to bite her lip. Jade pulled away sharply, her voice firm. "We have rules. Respect them." The man stepped back startled. The timer beeped, and Jade opened the door. "Time's up. Goodbye." He left, muttering an apology, and Jade took a moment to collect herself. "All part of the job," she said quietly, preparing herself for the last few clients. By the time the 100th man walked out of the door, Jade collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but triumphant. Diane handed her a glass of water and sat beside her with a proud smile. "You did it," Diane said, "and the world's gonna be talking about it." She was right. The event made headlines worldwide. Some hailed Jade as a feminist icon, a woman taking control of her body and rewriting the rules of intimacy. Others decried her as a symptom of moral decay, but Jade didn't care what they thought. She knew who she was, and she wasn't stopping. A week later, Jade posted a video to her millions of followers. She sat in front of the camera, calm and confident, as she made her announcement. "The 100-man marathon was just the beginning," she said. "Next month, I'll be taking it to the next level. 200 men in one day. Same rules, same purpose. Education doesn't stop at 100. The backlash was immediate, but so was the support. Bookings flooded in, and Jade knew she was on the verge of something even bigger. She smiled as she closed her laptop. The journey was far from over, and for Jade Sterling, the best was yet to come. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.